Hello and welcome back to another episode of the RotoWire Fantasy Soccer Podcast. My name is Andrew Laird, Senior Soccer Editor of RotoWire. Joined on this Thursday, October 29th by Jordan Cooper to discuss Saturday's Halloween Premier League slate.
Oh, it's scary. It's a scary two-game slate with two big favorites.
Right.
Wow, I can't wait for this one.
Yeah, it's dressing up as a good slate, but it's actually, underneath, it's just a terrible one. I noticed that the first GPP that they posted, this was a few days ago, obviously with no prices, those came out today, that they have this very attractive 100K GPP with a 555 entry. So they're at least moving in the right direction of getting the more casual people to play.
Because everyone wants to put in a $555 entry, especially into a two-game slate that has an absurd amount of goal variance. Yeah, that's total casual friendly.
Yeah, unfortunately, only 200 people can get in that one, so you better get in quick. There is a multi-enter too. How many you can do? 6.
Yeah, because I really want to put in $3,300 into that.
20K to first. Have you looked at the payout yet?
I'm assuming 8th place is $40.
What do you think it actually is? It's 20K to first.
20K to first, and what place do I need to guess?
8th.
8th?
8th is actually the same as 7th, so if that moves you
I'm going to guess 1,200.
2,500. So this is actually twice as good as you think it is, so you obviously should be max entering.
Well, I've low standards, though.
1,200 is 15th place.
Okay, so 15th out of 200. That's only the top 92nd percentile.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I need to get to the top 92nd percentile, right? Something like that, right?
40th is the last min cash for 1,000.
Okay, so the top 22%.
Yeah.
To double up. Not even double.
Right.
Because it's a 1,000, right? So it's
Correct.
not even a full. It's a 1.9 something X.
1.8, yeah.
Whatever.
Min cash 1.8, yeah.
I'm going to do what I do now in soccer is just I play one lineup. I play a whole bunch of double ups and triple ups and head-to-heads. And if I could double my money, there you go. Focused on NFL, obviously. Even the Champions League, I haven't even gotten to. They had good contests.
Yeah, they did.
For that. So maybe I missed out. Maybe the next time around I'll come through on that. But, I mean, Luis does a good job with you on the Champions League analysis, and then I get the crap. I get it. EPL has turned into and then the Bundesliga slates are never like big enough that I want to care about, and this whole podcast, especially the Thursday edition, has turned into just like we've been doing this for what, almost 4 years together.
It's been a long time,
right? We're just at the jaded point, right? We've gotten to the age where. Yeah, I guess people want to listen to this, and here's the analysis, but let me tell you that this sucks.
I think people who have listened over the 4 years don't, like, there are obviously people who listen for help because they don't want to do any of the research themselves, but it's to the point now where the slates are so small, just in terms of game size, that, like, people listening probably know what we're going to say anyway. Like, So
you could do the research. You could by the time this comes out and by Saturday's slate, it's a 2-game slate. You could read the autobiography of all the players in the games to get a sense of like how they feel towards their playing style. Mm-hmm. Like you could do that in a reasonable period than anything else. So, and then half the players you have to throw out because, why are you playing Joe Gomez? I mean, like,
yeah, it is like,
to do is maybe read up about 6 or 7 players and you're good.
I think the odd thing now is that people are used to spending a certain amount of time researching slates. And so it's like, if you don't research it for enough, you're like, oh, I must be missing something. And so then you have a 2-game slate and you look through everything and you're like, okay, I think I'm ready for this slate. And you look down and it's been like 6.5 minutes. And you're like, oh, I must be missing something. And so you start diving into things that like have absolutely nothing to do with what you should be looking at. And then it's like you could do 10 hours of research and you end up back to what you did for the 6 minutes, but you're like, I feel better about this now because look at all this work I did, and then it doesn't matter.
Before we recorded the show, the slate came out. Like I was recording something else, so like I was in the bathroom when the pricing came out. So I'm like, well, obviously I have to put together a lineup so I know what I'm talking about for this show. And normally I put together like a dummy lineup, and I'm like, okay, I could see multiple different directions and stuff like that. And let me look into the cheat sheet and let me take a look more about it. But like literally, I put together a lineup. I'm like, if I did this at 9:58 on Saturday, like I think this is maybe there's a 2v2 here, but like I got the lineup. Like that's okay. Like and of course, and then the person that I don't have is going to score 2 goals, and that's going to ruin me in GPPs. So that's why I don't even bother playing them. I'm just like, okay, if anyone wants to run me down with Chelsea forwards, go for it. Have fun.
I will say, though, there does seem to be a bigger player pool in terms of DFS players lately. Obviously, with basketball finishing and baseball finishing, hockey was over a while ago. Soccer is starting to be like one of the only things you can play. Obviously, there's still plenty of NFL, but not on Saturdays. We do have college football, although this slate at least begins before college football. And obviously, the staggered starts push it a little bit, but I think you're going to be, if you haven't looked, I think you're going to be surprised that you'll see some more opponents than you're used to seeing, at least on Saturday.
Good, but I mean, it's just too easy to build a lineup on this slate. I think the direction is easy. Let's get into this slate. Before we bitched enough, right? Like we opened the show with a bunch of bitching, and then we get down to, okay, this is exactly what you do.
The real business.
2 games.
I will say before you jump in, like I usually will look at the cheat sheet first and then build the lineup and then just see if it kind of matches what I'm thinking. But this time I did what you did, and I built the lineup first, and it's like I went backwards, and I used the cheat sheet to basically justify the dummy lineup, and it'll come out in the next few minutes because there's really not a ton of ways you can go on a 2-game slate with these teams involved.
Right. So we got the first game is Chelsea on the road to Burnley. They're a minus 184 current favorite. That total's hovering around 3. Then we got Liverpool at home with West Ham United coming into Anfield, minus 258 or so favorite, depending on where you're looking, with about a 3.5 total. It's basically 2 solid favorites. Obviously, Chelsea being an away favorite, that they're even a bigger favorite if it was a neutral venue. So they're about equal favorites to each other. So you're essentially looking like what Chelsea players to play, what Liverpool players to play. West Ham and Burnley are either GPP options or cash game punts. And we've seen that essentially. I mean, we'll go through on forward. Like there's no one has a floor. Like there's no floor. There's no nothing here. There's I don't think that's fair. You don't?
No, I think there are 2 players that have very clear floors, and there's no way you're playing them on this slate.
No, well, of course. Well, they have floors, but not like floors for this type of slate.
Yeah, I'm just saying though, that like we do have guys that we've played before because they have good floors. It's just this slate may not be the best time to play them.
Right. You're talking about the forwards from the underdog teams like McNeil and Bowen.
Right. Exactly.
Which are, I mean, I guess they're viable.
Sure.
You have to throw them in the viable range, but I think you're most likely playing Salah and Mane. Right? Oh, you doubt that?
I think that's probably where most people go. I think for the rest of your lineup, I think you're better off with Salah and anyone else other than Mane. Meaning Jota.
I'm not talking about both of them together. No, that's not what I meant.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Like one of them.
Yes, but you're not in cash. You're not playing Mane.
Right. I think your forward spots are going to be Liverpool players.
Yes.
I think that's why I said before, if you're playing me in head-to-heads and you're going to run me down with Chelsea forwards, then I guess I lose. Fine, and that's what I don't think Werner, Pulisic, Abraham, whoever's up there. They have no floors. They have
Yeah.
they're absolutely. But I mean, the Liverpool players also are like Salah and Mane. It's not like they have insane floors either. But we have Liverpool forwards like if they line up the way they did, like what I'm planning for, because they're the late game. Because the last game they lined up with Firmino and Jota.
Yeah, last two
in the
games.
lineup. Okay, so it's more likely that if they don't line up that way, that one of them starts.
Yeah.
Right? Because like I imagine going into the late game playing. I'm going to do the dinky do with the Firmino and Jota together, and then one of them doesn't start, and you're like, well, I guess I better hope Yarmolenko comes in off the bench. I mean, like,
Yeah, you can't even get to like Bowen or. I mean, I guess it's possible that Haller starts if Antonio doesn't, but like, that's where you end up.
right. So that's why I think you're probably playing one of them too, and you just plug in Firmino, and if for whatever reason they both start or one of them start, you could always just switch. You could, what do I feel like playing? I don't think there's that dramatic of a difference between the two.
Yeah.
But I think that's the route that you go. You're playing Salah and one of those two. And if you're down or something and you want to switch off Salah to Mane to gain some leverage if you need it in whatever contest you're in, then Mane's going to come in lower owned. So, I mean, what more analysis can you really do at forward? Because are you playing Jay Rodriguez? Are you playing Antonio at 7,900? I mean, if you believe in an upset, sure, you could do that in GPPs, but I don't think in cash games or for an optimal build you're doing that.
Yeah, I think the difficulty with those guys, I mean, basically Antonio, McNeil, and Bowen, is that they're not priced as if they're such big underdogs as they are. So you're not really you're taking them just leaves you with not enough to make it up elsewhere. Like they're too expensive to take the risk in cash games, which is why I just don't think anybody should play them.
Right, and you're not paying up at midfield on this slate.
I don't even know if I can find two that I want to play.
I don't even know if you could find two that are midfield only that will start that you could play.
Right.
Right. I mean, like I think that getting to midfield.
Like I think you would play 5 defenders if you could.
Yes, that's absolutely true. I mean, they're rotating, so I'm assuming Ziyech is not going to start. But maybe Mason Mount starts. But even with Mason Mount starting, we see the fullbacks taking the set pieces.
Yeah.
So, like, 7,500 for Mason Mount. Yeah, sure, if Chilwell's not in, if Reece James is not in, I could see doing that. But he's still 7,500. So then you go down here and, like, Havertz, which they still haven't given forward eligibility to.
Thiago took it. That's why.
He's not a cash game play.
No.
You know how bad of a slate it is at midfield when I say that the most appealing, the highest priced, most appealing. I'm not saying he is appealing, but if I'm going to pay up for midfield, it's going to be Ashley Westwood at 5,900. That's how bad this slate is.
That makes you feel a little good. I know it does.
But I think he's viable.
Yeah, there it is.
Right, I got to throw it in. I think he has a floor. I think he's probably overpriced, but I mean, but this is the conundrum, Andrew. I know it's going to make your head explode. Would you rather play Ashley Westwood or Jordan Henderson?
But really, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, but last episode you were all over Juan Mata, so maybe we're flipping here, and you'll be into Jordan Henderson.
I think Jorginho's the better play.
Oh, okay, you do.
Well, if like you have two guys that are basically worthless, comparing Jorginho and Jordan Henderson, two guys that do nothing, and they're in the same price range, and Jorginho is actually a little more expensive, but basically the same, and one of them has penalties, even though he missed one earlier this week. Wouldn't you rather just take that potential upside?
I guess so. But I mean, I could take the potential floor of Westwood. Give me the 3 corner kicks. Give me the 3 corner kicks that Burnley gets.
Right.
Over the Jorginho's floor of 1 and his ceiling of 13.
No,
that's what you're getting with Jorginho at 5,500.
No, he had a brace earlier this season. Yeah, 30.1 earlier this season.
Right.
He hasn't gotten a yellow card yet, which is a little scary because he'll definitely get one at some point. But yeah, that's what you're looking at. The reasonable guys from Burnley or the non-attackers from Chelsea and Liverpool.
Right. And I think based on how that Liverpool lined up last week, like I don't mind if you're gonna spend 4,800 for Henderson, why don't you just spend 3,200 for Wijnaldum?
Yeah.
Like what's the difference really? 1,600 difference. Are they any dramatically different from each other?
If you told me Wijnaldum has never scored more than 5 points in a Premier League game, I'd believe you. But 6.9 last week. I stand corrected.
He's gotten goals before, so don't worry about it. He's up on set pieces.
Like one. Like I think he has one
goal.
goal.
No, he's gotten more than that. I mean, not this year, but I mean, he's gotten
and maybe not last year. He had that Champions League one, and I'm not sure he scored since, but nobody from Liverpool cares because it was such a good goal. So you would rather take Wijnaldum than like Josh Brownhill?
Yes.
Just
because
he
shots
might score his
assisted.
first goal in 2 years.
I'm going to take the players from the teams that are going to have the ball more. I know Evaldo's taking Mark Noble, so I got to pivot and take Jordan Henderson against him.
You're not going to take Mark Noble to block everybody?
No, not. I'll let him have those points. Those are fine with me.
Ballsy.
Well,
Reckless,
with Van Dijk out, so you can't say that like West Ham had like no chance to score.
Yeah. I kind of expected Liverpool to be, I mean, what are they, would you say minus 250?
250 or something, yeah.
That seems a little tight, no?
No,
Liverpool?
that's about right.
Really?
No.
Yeah. Maybe I'm used to some of these lopsided Champions League matches from this week.
But would you rather take Wijnaldum or Henderson, or would you rather take Conte? I think that's really what you're looking at. It's Henderson, Wijnaldum, or Jorginho, Conte. It's like the same types of players. People that you would normally not roster on a slate that was not as bad as this one.
That is awful.
You have to think of GPPs though. That the Burnley and West Ham guys are going to be severely underowned.
Oh yeah. And you're probably fine. Just like it's not like you have to then go in and build a Burnley West Ham lineup. Like you can get away with Chelsea, West Ham, or Burnley, Liverpool. Like you don't have to take both underdogs. I don't think.
Right, or you could stack a game and you could still take.
Yeah.
You'd take the guy because look, Liverpool could win 4-1, and if you have the cheap guy on West Ham that scores the goal, then that's there you go, you win. That's perfectly fine.
The problem is that that only works if it's a cheap guy. Like
right.
if you're playing Antonio, that means you're not playing Salah and Mane or Salah and the two fullback. Like you have to. He's too expensive. It's really the Burnley game that probably goes off more, right? On both sides at least.
Right, because we take a look at anytime goal scoring odds from the RotoWire cheat sheet. Like Chris Wood is plus 215, and he's 5,200, but Antonio is plus 225.
Yeah. At
2,700 more.
Yeah.
And he's somewhere in line with the Pulisic, Firmino.
Mm-hmm.
So like if I'm going to play, a cheap forward in GPPs, like I'll play Chris Wood.
Sure. Ashley Barnes is 4,800.
Okay, there you go. Well, the Burnley, I'm much more likely in GPP to play the Burnley guys than the West Ham guys with the prices the way they are.
Yeah, I think that's right.
But I'd much rather play like 400 defenders on this slate.
Yeah, that's agreed. I think it just comes down to whether you play. Yeah, it's just whether you play 2 Liverpool and 1 Chelsea or 2 Chelsea and 1 Liverpool.
Right. Well, that's it. Depending on how they line up. I mean, if Azpilicueta's in, it makes it easier.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If they do something like
that all confirms the Azpilicueta Werner goal, since we'll have all 3 of the other guys.
Right. Because you're not going to play Cresswell at 5,300 on this slate.
He's been a center back too.
Right. These are stupid prices.
Right. That's the problem. Is that like if you're like, oh, let me just pay down for Charlie Taylor at 4,500. And it's like, what are you even getting? Yeah.
Right. That's not cheap enough. If I'm going to punt at a defender slot, I'm going to punt with a
Kurt Zuma.
Yeah, but even Zuma's it's 4,100.
That is expensive.
I mean, I'll play. Who else? Who's going to start alongside?
3,400.
Okay, that's better.
That's probably it though. Oh, Joe Gomez 2,500. He does nothing though. That's
yeah, but at clean sheet equity, whatever. He's 2,500 and he's on a favorite team. So there you go.
Right. If you're willing to pay, of course, he had 6 points literally in his last Premier League game. But if you're willing to pay 2,500 for 3 points, then there you go.
Yeah, but I think that most likely you're going to see what the Chelsea lineup is, and you can decide, do you play Chilwell and James, and then one of the Robertson or Arnold, or you're going to just take one of Chilwell and James, and then you play both of Robertson and Arnold. You could building this lineup in cash games. I mean, like that's like, dude, we've barely been 10 minutes, right? I mean, like. The way, and it's primarily the way they priced it. It's not necessarily like we've seen 2-game slates where there's like, okay, I could see doing this. I could like if they priced, let's say they priced Bowen at 5,900,
right,
and McNeil at 5,500 or something like that. I'd be okay. Now we could do the dinky do, or you play McNeil in a midfield spot, and then there's things to move around, and then you don't have to play Wijnaldum,
right? And
then you could still play 3 defenders. Like then you could make more things. But when they price West Ham and but mostly West Ham, when
it's really just
West Ham, the way that they're up, it just doesn't give you any choices. They're obviously overpriced.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they know something that we don't, and you see West Ham win 3-0. It could happen.
What price? Like, did you even look at the Chelsea and Liverpool fullback prices before you plugged them in?
I just had to make sure that they weren't 5 digits. Like that's
right. I guess that was the question.
Robertson like, 10,000? Okay, maybe then I think about it. But I mean, like, who else are you playing in your defender stops?
Like, I actually didn't look, and so I just looked, and I'm like, 68 for Robertson, 67 Chilwell, 65 TAA, and just look like considering the midfielders on the slate, it's like, yeah, I'll pay those happily, and I'll just move on.
Right. If one of them was midfield only eligible, I'd play them in the midfield spot.
And they should be 12,000.
Right. Like I'd play all if these guys were priced the same as Mason Mount at 7,500. I'd play these guys over Mason Mount.
Happily.
Happily. So yeah. So I mean, I think the contrarian way to still use these players to build your lineups is to like play a center back that gets a header goal. Mm-hmm. Like as far as differentiating yourself in GPP, by playing a Zuma, by playing who would I play?
I actually think you're going the wrong way. Like I think you need to look at defensive midfielders who move up, because the correlation of the corner taker and the guy scoring the goal is like you're losing a spot because you're filling a defender spot with a center back. So you actually have to get like the donkey Wijnaldum goal.
Right. Like so there you go. Right.
I think you're better off completely punting that midfield spot than taking out one of the set piece takers even in a GPP, because you still want that correlation.
Right. Oh, and then if you're going to punt with the cheap guy that scores on the underdog, you take like a Souček or a Stevens or one of those types of goals. Yeah, okay, you could go that direction.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited for that Cresswell to Souček goal.
If you're going to pay $5,300 for Cresswell, you deserve it. And a goalkeeper, I guarantee you that the most popular goalkeeper is Nick Pope.
Yeah. No doubt.
He's the home underdog keeper on a team that you're not playing forwards against.
Right. Like fundamentally, it's that simple.
Right. It's that's. I mean, I'm like, okay, I'm not playing any Chelsea forwards. Like, who's my cheap goalkeeper? Pope. Done.
Right.
It allows me to pay up for Ashley Westwood, and I go, do I really need to do that?
Would you rather play Pope and Westwood or Mendy and Conte?
Maybe the goal. Maybe I just pay up for Allison.
Either one.
Or either one, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Like, it's theoretically.
I don't think Ashley Westwood isn't worth it. So, like, yeah, like I take a look. This is what I think of. Like, Allison's clean sheet equity, a clean sheet. We have, actually, Mendy.
I was going to say Mendy's higher, yeah.
Right, Mendy's clean sheet, but I mean, there's a slightly lower win percentage. So Chelsea is 62% to win, 36% for clean sheet. Liverpool is 69% to win and 34% to clean sheet. But like, if you take a look at the equity of that, so if a win counts for what, 5 points?
Yeah.
So we're talking about what, maybe 3.5 is the percentage of that for the win, and then the clean sheet is you get another 2.5 to about 2, right? Clean sheet, so that's like 5.5. It's like that's the median. Like Ashley Westwood, that's Ashley Westwood's median. I mean, like that's. Yep. And Ashley Westwood's upside is a goal, and the goalkeeper's upside is a win and a clean sheet combined.
It's the goal. It's the same.
Right, it's the goal. It's the goal. So, truthfully, you probably pay up a goalkeeper.
Right. Like
assuming you're playing Ashley Westwood. Like, right. We're talking about a specific case for that.
Right, but I mean, that is the case of the win percentage times the clean sheet percentage versus Noble's goal odds, which are 16%.
Right.
He hasn't even been playing. I don't know why we're even talking. Or not Noble, Westwood, I meant. Same guy to me. Oh, he's Noble, 6 2/3%, plus 1,400 for a goal.
Do you realize this is the most we've ever talked about a goalkeeper?
I think that was actually like one of the more intelligent conversations we've had about it.
It was the only intelligent conversation we've ever had about goalkeeper.
You know, the best part of it is that it doesn't actually matter. The whole conversation.
This is what ends up happening. That you choose Mendy and he concedes and Allison doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
You choose Allison and Allison concedes and Mendy doesn't. Or you choose either of them and Pope has 11 saves while giving up 3 goals and outscores both of them.
Yeah. I think it's obviously Fabianski who does that because we haven't even said his name yet.
Right. And then he's the high. You roster the forwards against him, and he still is the outs. And he Salah and the forwards, they get 4 goals against Fabianski, and Fabianski still ends up as the highest scoring goal.
Salah has 2 goals, but 8 shots on target, so that's 6 saves for Fabianski just from Salah. So Salah has a ceiling game, as does Fabianski, in a 4-0 loss.
Right.
This game is easy.
Right. So if I basically in that scenario, I just have to pray that Ashley Westwood doesn't score.
Right.
So I can't have a Pope ceiling and a Westwood ceiling game at the same time. I'm screwed.
Oh, man. Imagine missing out on the Westwood ceiling game. I will say maybe the most important thing of the entire slate is that it's starting an hour later. So you have it until 11 a.m. on Saturday. It's not 10 a.m. So lineups will come out at 10 a.m. Eastern. Second game is 1:30. I don't know why they only have 3 games on Saturday, but they do. And the first one is the early. They're skipping the early one on DraftKings. But for anyone who's used to 10 a.m. this week, it's 11. Next week, it'll be back to 10.
That's not that important. It's not like you're going to miss it.
It's the most important. Well, I'm just saying, like, what happens if you are planning on doing something at 10, because you were like, oh, well, my lineups will be in, it's fine. But now the lineups are coming out at 10.
Why would you ever plan on doing something during this amazing slate?
Obviously, I just stay at home on my couch for 17 hours for these staggered start times, but I'm just saying there are people who have lives that need to do stuff, I guess. I don't know.
Do stuff? What is there to do?
I don't know. I don't know. Anybody needs any follow-up for Jordan, you can find him on Twitter at BlenderHead. That's BlenderHD. I'm at RotoWire Andrew. Available in the RotoWire Discord as well for all subscribers. Just go to rotowire.com/chat to join there. If you are watching this on YouTube and are enjoying it, please hit the like button below and feel free to subscribe as well to get all of these right on your screen when you show up to YouTube. And if you are listening onto the audio version, please just rate and review wherever you listen. Jordan, thanks for that, and good luck on this very big Saturday slate.